What is up, my friend? Welcome to episode number 70 of the Anthony John Amix podcast. Today, I'm bringing on Danny Torres to talk about toxic masculinity and how it impacts life and business growth. If you're a man listening to this episode and want to figure out how to unlock a whole other level of peace, power, and profits in your life, we're going to be diving into some things that will help you do just that and to be a better man in the process. Now, if you're a woman listening to this episode and you want to better understand the men in your life and how to help them tap into more of their potential, this episode will serve you as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Anthony John Amix podcast, the one and only podcast designed to help you become unstoppable in life and business. My name is Anthony John Amix. My friends call me AJ, and my goal with this podcast is to help you remember who you truly are so you can maintain your center in the chaos, embody your potential, and unlock freedom in your life and business. That being said, let's get into today's show.
All right, welcome back. Today I'm bringing on Danny Torres. He's the guy who you go to if you want to figure out how to get rid of hidden patterns that are preventing you from the growth, success, and progress that you want. Danny is the definition of beating the odds, from experiencing death, battling and defeating leukemia, to scaling a 7-figure business, to then losing everything he has, being forced to live on the street, and still coming out on the other end of that. He's a strong-minded, huge-hearted, successful dude who's also a leader in several walks of life. He's founded multiple companies and has helped over 1,200 people overcome the adversities in their lives to get back on track to achieving their dreams. He's also the father of 2 daughters who also happen to be the source of his happiness. Now, before I bring Danny on, I want to let you know you can get my book called Mindset is Not Enough for entirely free by going to ajamix.com/book. It's a great book, if I may say so myself. It's all about the #1 secret for scaling your business, leading a team, and living a life of fulfillment without burning out or taking on a heavier stress load. Just go to ajamix.com/book to get it now. It's 100% free and will rock your world and help you see what it really takes to unlock a new level of freedom, purpose, and success. With that being said, let's bring today's guest onto the podcast. Danny, what up, brother? Welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, what's going on?
Dude, life is good here in Dallas, Texas. It's summertime, it is sunny, it is warm, and I love it, dude. I love my sunshine in Dallas, Texas.
Awesome. Oh, hey, listen, I always say every day above ground is a great day, right?
It is, man. Dude, I saw on Facebook recently one of your daughters graduated from high school, right? How did that feel?
No, actually, it was junior high.
Junior high. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Excited. It was bittersweet because so I wanted to take her out of school this year in the beginning of the year for homeschooling. I wanted to just homeschool her. So, and then when everything that's happened with the pandemic and whatnot, she started doing homeschooling. And the reason she wanted to stay in school initially was because she said, Daddy, I want to at least graduate and go to a prom, and then high school I could do homeschooling. I was like, all right, cool. And then it didn't happen. So I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to make sure we throw you something, you know? So I had the yard set up. I had the microphone. I literally printed out some certificates and, made it nice for her. So it was awesome.
That's amazing. So she's going into high school now? She went from 8th grade coming into high school now?
Yeah. She got out of a gifted and talented school, and now she's going into another special high school.
Brilliant, dude. Well, today I want to talk about like toxic masculinity, how it impacts people's life and business growth. I did a little bit of digging on you. You've totally been through hell and back. I mean, you could have been a dude. You could have been a dude who could have kind of been angry with life, and you could have had every complete right to been a victim to life and been like, fuck you, life, fuck you, and just been angry. So I'm kind of curious to hear, like, why did you choose to be at cause rather than be at effect?
Oh man, shall we start? Shall we begin? You know what? I was always faced with some type of adversity since childhood, right? Coming up in poverty, didn't have too much, in and out of a shelter, family, friends, different homes. Moved my parents. I was in and out. I was just a wild boy, right? But I never wanted to be a statistic. I never wanted to be someone that says, oh, it's this reason why I did not succeed, right? I never wanted to be one where I tell my children what was told to me at a young age, where we can't afford that, or we can't live there, or you can't go to that school, or, you know what I mean? Or just take. I was a born giver. So I've always had the mindset. I was always raised around elders. I mean, I was 12 years old hanging out at the bar. My father used to pick me up on a Saturday morning, drop me off 12 in the afternoon, and pick me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So like I was raised around elders playing pool, and it was just my mindset. My maturity level was very, it was at an older age, and I chose to make the best of it. I was always a natural leader because I was always on my own. So people tend to follow me, and I always told people to become their own leaders. As a child, I was doing this, and it just kind of grew into things and with society and stuff that they tell us and everything that I went through. And, fast forward to me even bleeding to death and dying and coming back and just one thing after another, right? It always led to me being some type of form of leadership. The motorcycle club, I built it from 7 people to 1,200 men. So, it's leadership and influence of what real men are about, right? And this toxic masculinity, I don't believe in the phrase. Obviously, it's there, right?
Sure.
But me personally, I don't believe in a toxic masculinity. I just think it's a room full of men full of aggression, and they just don't know how to get it out.
Yep.
Or they was not shown ways to get it out, right? Because we're men, we have animal instincts, right? And society they put this evil eye around being a masculine man, right? Where there's nothing wrong with that. You have to embrace it. But a lot of men that's grown up without a father in their life or without a male figure, they don't know where to place that energy. They don't know where to put it, right? So then what? They start to get labeled. They start to say they're like, for me, when I was labeled, I was labeled emotionally disturbed and chemical imbalance and ADHD and all this other garbage, right? I think it's just labels. Just let the boy be a boy, teach him how to be a man. And I think men will go far, far, far and beyond. This toxic masculinity shit will go away.
So how does somebody teach a boy to go to a man? Because some may argue and say, well, there's a bunch of men boys running around. And if we dig into that, back in the day, it was like men had a rite of passage. Elders were very involved in their life, leading them through ceremonies, etc., to come into manhood and become into levels of responsibility. We weren't in a culture where we repressed our emotions. We learned how to harness them. We had emotional intelligence. So how does somebody start navigating this in a modern world where they are stepping into manhood? Like, what does that even look like? How does that even happen?
You know what? I say bring it back to the basics, right? Bring it back to the basics. Like, for instance, even in school, kids can't even play dodgeball anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, they can't do that. Or boys, in recess, boys would go out and fight and wrestle, and they wasn't really fighting. That's just what they did. Right? It was full contact. Like, let the boy be a boy. Right? Let him ride his bicycle and bust his ass. Let him get back up and continue to ride. You don't have to scream at a boy and say, hey, listen, don't cry. That's not what men do. No, you don't have to do that. Right? That's not the right thing to do. Because that's what happened. Like you said before with suppression. Back in the day, people came from the military years ago. When they came home, they was already conditioned not to cry, not to show emotion, not to show anything, right? A feminine trait, I can't show that. I must be masculine at all times. When you know how to balance your masculine and feminine energy, because we all have it, right? So I think it all starts with the basics, man. And then obviously as they grow through life, different age, different stages, I wish high school would literally have a class, or how they have like a study hall or gym and stuff like that. Sure. I wish they would have a period, especially maybe junior year, or 1 year freshman, like maybe a quarterly, whatever it is, but implement some type of educational system where it's like, okay, well, this is what being a man is like. Chivalry still exists. Teach you manners, teach you values, right? Teach you things that go on in life. Teach you how to be like I always say gangster and a gentleman. And the reason I use those two words, I don't mean gangster as in like the street person, right? I mean gangster as in, to me, when I see that word, when people say that, oh, this guy could be gangster, well, that means he loves hard. To me, that means he's very passionate, right? If someone does something to your family and hurts someone, the gangster's gonna come out of you. You're gonna go passionate. You're gonna like, oh, what the hell is going on, right? And the gentleman side of it, right? So I use them two words because they've been around forever. Right, they've been using it since the Al Capone days.
Sure.
So I use those words a lot, right? Gangster and a gentleman. Well, guess what? A gangster is a great businessman. He's a great leader. He's a great father, right? And a gentleman, same concept, right? Because he knows how to balance. He knows that chivalry still exists. He knows how to praise his woman, praise his queen, right? Allow her to do what she wants to do. And she's going to do what you want to do. It goes both ways. You know what I mean? It's not like you have to do this and you have to do that. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I wish I saw that in an educational system where they would teach that. I do this a small event for kids, right? For high school boys, and that's what it's called, Gangster and Gentlemen. And sometimes I try to get some sponsors so that they can sponsor to buy little suits. So when they walk in with their jeans, sneakers, however they walk in, they walk out with a suit. And it's pretty cool. And embrace it now, so when they do get older, they understand the difference. Because, a lot of the guidance out here is, let me go on Google and learn stuff, right? Google, I get it, the gym method, right? Google it now, but it doesn't teach you everything.
That's true. 100%, man. 100%. Do you think a lot of these people who stay boys is because their fathers aren't necessarily men? And what I mean by that is, but maybe potentially, these boys have been set up into a culture, or men in general have been set up into a culture where they feel like they have to prove or defend their worthiness. And so it's not even just about like going into the business world and like creating success because they choose it, but it's almost like there's this culture where everything that they're doing like they're trying to create into resistance to of proving I'm worthy as a man or I'm worthy of success, rather than having integrated men in their lives who are comfortable in their feminine, they're comfortable in their masculine, and they lead, but they also have enough tender hearts to put their arms around their boy and say, hey, I'm proud of you. Because where I grew up in East Texas, John Wayne culture, the men in your life, they never said I love you. They never said I'm proud of you. It was always just like, boy, you could have done this right or that right or this better or this. Yeah. And it was just always like push, 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 push. So for me, for a lot of my life, everything I tried to create was in resistance to not wanting to feel the feeling of I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, 100%. I'm so grateful that you just stated that, because it goes both ways with the feminine and masculine energy, and especially when it comes to women, because men always think that the women is just the only ones that feel that they're never good enough, but men feel that shit too a lot.
Yep.
And we don't say it, right? But a lot of times they feel it. They feel like, okay, well, they're supposed to be the protector and the provider, and if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, they feel like they have this weight on their shoulders, right? And it's scary because, like, the amount of suicide rates that's going up in men right now. Why? Because they have this weight on their shoulders and they don't know where to go, where to put the aggression, where to put the energy at, who to speak to. They don't want to feel ashamed. They don't want to cry in front of people. They don't want to tell people their problems because, as their parents came, they was just telling them, look, just shut up, right? Just shut up, go cry, don't cry. Like, just, they didn't have nobody to express that to. So I'm so grateful that you said that, because it's so true, man. Men, they must feel like they are enough too, right? And that also comes from within. And another thing, like you said, where you was raised, like, no, you could have did better, you could have did better, you could have did better. That's like in the book Relentless, right? Tim Grover. I love that book because he speaks about how certain people are always, well, you can do better, you can do better. But sometimes, even as a man, not just a female, but as a man, you must sit there and, but you know what, pat yourself on the back. Yep. Like, look how far you have came, right? And appreciate that. No reason to put your aggression out on someone else that might be weaker of any kind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's awesome you said that.
What have you found is like some really good ways for men to harness their anger? Because I feel like so many men, they sedate anger. Like usually they've had either a father who expressed anger in a way like the father was reacting to anger, or maybe the mother was reacting to anger, and therefore they then were like angry people or bad people because angry people hurt people. So then they think being a good man is being like, well, I better never be angry, because if I'm angry, I hurt people, and I love people. I don't want to hurt them. So how have you found are some ways for them to befriend the anger and then learn how to channel that into creation, so they really are standing in a powerful place?
I think a lot of that falls down to grounding, to being grounded, because a lot of, especially boys, they grew up, like I grew up with a lot of anger. I had a lot of anger in me. I was always fighting. I was always, I was just that kid that was always in trouble. But because I had a lot of anger in me, because, and I didn't know no better, like I got in trouble, I got beat. So if somebody else got me aggravated or mad in school, then I wanted to fight. Like that was what I was taught. That's all I knew. But as I got older, as I became more grounded and, and understood that what they did to us or what we was raised around, that's not their fault because that's all they knew. Right. And I believe when we become more grounded, we become more open to the fact that we are able to unlearn what we thought we learned, what we thought we knew. Are we really angry, or what is it that we're angry about? Right. What is causing it? There's no such thing as somebody's pushing your button. Right. Like, what is that? What is the underlying issue here? Right. And some people, they don't think. It's hard for them to think for themselves. Right. Self-reflection is a mother effort. Right.
Yeah.
But when you do this, or when you have that one person, I always say the best thing that anybody can do is to have a conversation with a stranger, right? If a man does not want to speak to a friend, a wife, a brother, a father, anybody in there that they can speak to, if they choose not to, go, at least around here in Jersey, New York, go jump on a train and go speak to a stranger. And you'll be surprised on what somebody who doesn't have no reason to be biased or whatnot, give the answer that they give you. Right. And it allows you to see outside the box, because it's hard for us to see outside the box because we just don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
Makes sense, man. What have you found? How have you found ways to kind of befriend your emotions?
For me, for a while, it was boxing. Working out. I just had a lot of energy. When my kids was born, my first daughter was born. I started to think of it totally different. Right. I started to think of anger as an emotion that is excitement. Right. Anger is not something that can control me. I control it. And I also started to understand that if I'm angered, then the only reason I'm angered is at myself, because whatever happened 2 seconds ago it's not their fault. It's my fault because I still have that emotion attached to it. Right. So I started to think like that and just living in the now. The more I lived in the now, present and grounded, which it sounds like, people, it's hard to do that, but it's really not. Like, just literally just sit there and think, man, just relax. Like, just start writing. Like, I love to brain dump. I write a lot, and I just start writing. Like, okay, and I write down, well, what's going on? What is stopping me? Why am I mad? Why am I angry? Where can I throw this energy at? Right. And this was before I started getting into like the deeper self-development and stuff like that. This is just stuff that worked for me in general, right? Because at the time, what am I going to do? Box for my whole life, or do this, or work out? Like, no. Like, I want to be able to, if I'm with my kids and somebody cuts me off, and I don't want to have to say, you know what I mean? I don't have to curse. Like, how can I enter, bring that energy? How can I flow, right? And just let go. Like, we have the biggest egos, and our ego is a double-sided edge. It's a double-sided edge, right? It's a great thing, and it's a curse, because it wants to protect you, but it also wants to protect you, and it doesn't allow you just to let go.
I do know. Absolutely. It comes back to, it's like, are we going to choose to be at cause and take responsibility for ego? And are we going to do the ego? Is the ego going to do us? For most people, the ego is doing them. For some people who woke
100%.
up and like to do the work, they actually do the ego. And it's a beautiful place to be.
100%. Yeah.
So with anger, man, have you ever found yourself where you're just angry for no reason? Like, it's just some pressure. Just, there is no meaning behind it. It just
of course, I'm human. I'm definitely human, and there's definitely been numerous amount of times, more so before than now. Does it still happen now? Of course it does. Where I'm just like, all right, why the hell do I got this face on? Why do I feel this negative, this low vibration, right? And I started to think, well, start to backtrack. Well, what caused me to get here? Right? What instead of me causing the effect, what caused this effect? Right? But before a lot of it was just thoughts. It was just thoughts and me thinking of something. And so I started learning more and start anchoring more happiness, right? And start anchoring every day. Gratitude, man. Gratitude is if you have a gratitude journal, or even if you write down a couple things a day, right? Say it out loud. You'll be amazed at how high you can raise your vibration, especially as a man, especially as I'm a very masculine male sometimes, right? But you'll be amazed at how you could just be a teddy bear when you live in gratitude.
Yep, totally agree. I know for me, I've been at a place where sometimes I just have anger for no reason. Like, there is no reason. I can be driving down the road, going in to lead my event, and I'm just like, this energy just like is in my body. So sometimes, dude, I'll just be driving down the highway, turn on some good rock music, and I'll just be just like
let it out. Yeah,
let it out,
music,
right?
Yeah, music is
just
key.
Move the energy.
Yeah, bro. You know what's funny? You say that. My motorcycle, bro.
Mm.
I get on my bike, I put the music on, get on the highway, and there's times I would put my arms out and just scream as loud as possible on the motorcycle, and I just feel so freaking free. I just let everything go.
So good. So good. And dude, I wish more people had enough like emotional intelligence and have done the work to understand that. And I feel like in this personal development game, it seems like so many people get caught up into sometimes, and there's a place for it to like, to figure out like what created it and rewiring and all of that. And there's value to that. I do that. Of course, you do it as well. But then there's like, I always say, like, even in this emotional intelligence game, personal development game, it's almost like a martial art form where there's like levels to the game. There's belts to the game. And really the only way you're going to get to the black belt is by being on the mat and rolling, getting your ass kicked. And you're going to have to progress from the white belt and work your way up. And some of those get on the
100%.
motorcycle and just, is like black belt, ninjutsu level type expression of just like being grounded and being full on with like life. And I wish more people would get to that place, because it's a real freeing place to be when you have the awareness to know like, hey, there is some deeper work for me to do. Let me go to the journal and work this out. And then other times where you're like, this is just some energy that just wants to come through me, and just let it come through me with no rhyme or reason, and let me get back to playing. It's a beautiful place to be, man.
Yeah, 100%, man. You know what? Even sometimes we wake up, we go to sleep, we got so much shit in our mind, and we wake up in the middle of the night and we're like, fuck, I can't sleep. Why can't I sleep? I always feel like that's something running past through you, right?
Yep.
So it's what I always tell people now is like, because I started doing it, if that happens to you, like, just start writing, right? Just start writing. Something's going to come out when you wake up in the morning and you go to read that. You can like, I wrote that, right? And you're not even going to realize that you wrote it, right?
Yeah. So good.
But yeah, man, it's masculine energy is powerful, man. And there's different levels of, there's different levels, like you said, from the boy to a man. Like there's different books out there. There's a lot of different people that speak of this stuff, right? The magician, the lover, the king, the warrior. Like there's different books, there's different levels of it, right? But at the end of the day, one of the biggest things that I feel, besides the levels of it, I feel like the levels of mindset is so to me, mindset now is child's play. Right? Because I feel like the levels of mindset, when you get to a certain spot in your life, you start to question everything.
Yep.
You start to question everything. But the biggest reason you start to question everything is because the mindset that you've had was never really yours. It was your parents or your teachers or the society that raised you. And now finally you're like, you know what? I want something different. I want something new. Or I want, why do I feel resistance to something that I've been doing for so long? It's because finally you're tapping into your own mindset, which means to me is that you're finally making love to your human nature. Now you're raising your standard and you're becoming the standard of who you want to become. And that's where that's where the whole leadership, that's where everything just starts falling right into place.
Yeah, dude. So good. How have you found, you've worked with 1,200 men, you built the club and everything.
A lot, yeah.
So how have you found like them not doing the work as a man, them not questioning their values to figure out what are their values, not their mother's values or culture or what, like their values, and them inheriting a certain way of being? How have you found like them not questioning that and doing that work? How does that impacting their life and their ability to like lead their teams and grow their businesses?
Robots. One word. They become robots. Right? They become robots of someone who they think that they're supposed to think. You hear the one phrase out there, I'm not who you think you think I'm supposed to be, right?
Yep.
Well, who they think they're supposed to be is not who they want to be. So they become robots. And believe it or not, it's weird because a lot of men become pleasers. And women doesn't see that. They might not see this side because, that's their side. But a lot of men become pleasers where it's like, okay, I must do something to make sure that I'm okay. To make sure that she's okay, to make sure that they're okay, and go above and beyond, right? Because it's in our nature to be the provider and the protector, right? But I feel that in the aspect when I can see that they're not showing up, because we all got blind spots, and when I see them not showing up, which that's what actually led me to the men's event, to the Alpha One Instinct, because I noticed that a lot, and I noticed everybody was a pleaser. Even if you was the most angered man. And when I spoke to you, you spoke with pure aggression. Like, I would just look at you in your eye and look, man, like, it's okay. Like, you can talk. You can put your guard down. I'm not here to kill you. Like, let's talk. You know what I mean? But it's a laugh, but it's true. It's so true.
Do you feel like in today's culture, I just got done doing a training on this last week on polarity, that it seems like a lot of men are actually standing in more feminine, not like super feminine, but it's almost like, especially in marriages and relationships, it's like the roles have swapped where the woman is like
Yes.
a little bit more masculine and then the man is a little bit more feminine, and they're kind of just dancing in this place of neutrality.
Yes, 100%. And I feel that's one of the biggest reasons why there's so many divorce rates going higher and higher and higher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like, all right, for instance, in the beginning of a relationship, right, the man makes the approach, not all the time, right? But let's just say that. Let's say they go out on a date. The man says, okay, hey, we're going to go out to eat. We're going to go do this. We're going to do that. Fine. As the relationship starts to get older, the men gets comfortable. The women get comfortable too, but the men get comfortable, right? They feel, hey, hon, what do you want to do on Friday? Oh, I don't care. No, whatever you want to do, I'll do. They don't want that. They want you to take some type of control. They want you to say, you know what? No, I tell you what, pick this restaurant or that restaurant. Give them a choice, but give them a choice of yours, right? It's just like a waitress. Waitress is the best NLP practitioners in the world, right? Because they don't serve you, would you like a Coke? They say, would you like a Coke or Sprite, right? So they're still selling, but they're giving you the opportunity to give them an answer. So it's the same concept with the masculine and feminine energy. So in the beginning of most relationships, the masculine energy is higher, and then they start to flip because the male starts to get lazy. He starts to get comfortable. He starts to go, oh, I just want to please. There's a saying out there, and I can't stand the saying, a happy wife is a happy life. I think that's bullshit, right? I think, no, it's not about that. First of all, you must do for you first. She must do for her first. You both must be extremely selfish within in order for you guys to be selfless with both.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's very powerful. And again, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why the divorce rate is so high. Why? Because when that happens and it starts to shift, the next man that comes along that just shows a little more masculinity, it's not just so much about interest, but it's so much about taking charge. And it's not telling them what to do, right? But it's having things planned out, because at the end of the day, listen, even the most masculine woman that is completely in her own, she knows she could be the feminine, she knows she could be masculine, she's about her business, she's about her children, she's about whatever it is that needs to be done, she still wants to play as the 6-year-old little girl sometimes.
Yeah.
She still wants to feel safe. She still wants to feel protected. She still wants to feel that, okay, my man has the upper role and he will take care of things. Even if she makes more money than him, that doesn't matter. But he has the right of way. A lot of men that I work with, they say, my wife doesn't have sex much more, right? We barely having sex. Well, that's when I break it down to them. And I say, well, listen, 9 times out of 10, it's actually your fault. I'm not saying all the time, right? I'm not saying all the time. It's different circumstances for everything. But a lot of times it's the men's fault, because what happens, the masculine energy in any bedroom, shall we say, is the one that initiate. If the female is the one that's always initiate, they get bored. Vice versa, right? The male always initiates. Sometimes he might get bored. But it's up to you to bring that energy in. It's up to you to bring that comfort, to bring that trust. So she was like, okay, you know what? I can fall down. I can relax. I can put my guard down. I could play in my feminine role because my masculine male knows how to take charge of life. And I think that's a big thing that's going on right now.
How does a masculine male like stay in his masculine without being burned out? Like, for instance, let's say, he's grinded all day in his business. He comes home, he just wants to chill a little bit, but he still wants to lead, make some decisions to stay in masculine. How does he continue just to lead without burning out?
He's got to have me days. He's got to have me time and take care of himself. I call it me time, right? What does he like to do weekly? Has he got a hobby? Does he ride a motorcycle? Does he get a weekly massage? Does he communicate with his wife and say, hey, listen, can you rub my feet once a week or twice or whatever? Like, it's communication is key, right?
Yeah.
But he's got to do for him. Women go out, they get their nails done, their hair is done, their feet done. They do all this stuff. That's their time. Cool. Men need their time also. Whether it's riding a bicycle, going for a hike, reading a book, whatever it is that they like to do, they must implement that into their schedule consistently. One thing I give them a point system. And in this point system, it's 6 points a day. And at the end of the week, I call it 36 points because it's a 6-day count. For the 7th day, if you made all of them points, then you celebrate. You yourself, you celebrate. It's got to do with health, with business, with health, business, wealth, giving, relationship, love. There's a couple different things that you must do every single day, and it's not hard at all. And you must celebrate. So you can be in your masculine, but if you want to just kick back, relax, it's not so much like you said, being in it. It's not so much just, oh, well, I want to become feminine now. No, it's just like I want to kick back, relax. I want my time. Well, then, in order for you to do that, you gotta pursue it and you gotta schedule it down. Say, this is my time to unwind. This is what I like to do to unwind. Don't bother me. The door's locked. Leave me alone. Go somewhere. It's your time. You need that. Men need that.
Do you think that me time is like a day? Is it an hour? Is it 4 hours? Is it different things for different people? What have you found really works for men?
I think it's different time for different things for different people. For me, I must do it every day. I love my every day, an hour a day where it's just me. Don't bother me. Phone is off. And it's different, right? Sometimes I'll go for my walk. I'll get on my bike. I'll get on my bicycle, right? Go for a drive, like whatever it is for me, but I will do it. I read a lot. I don't consider it gym me time. That's just what I do. But me time is something that I don't do that's not ordinary. Something that allows me to, it's like some people call it block time, thinking time. I've heard many different names for different things, but they have to schedule that in. It's very, very key for them to unwind. Because, what happens is, and men are notorious for this, right? That's where the dad bods come into play, right? We're notorious for hardworking, right? Come home, you got the kids, they want to play, or you got to do homework with them, or whatever it is, right? Wife's too. And then it's like, okay, go to sleep, wake up, and start over. It's like, all right, hold on, pause. When are you going to get the time for you? If you don't get the time for you, just like everyone, it's like we're kings of the jungle, right? The lions are the king of the jungle, but we still need a shoulder too sometimes. And it doesn't have to necessarily be a human shoulder. It could just be our own. It could just be our own time, but we need our own time. Men need that.
Awesome. How do you find that, like, when is a good time for men to be in their feminine? Like, how do they know when to do that dance, to be in masculine, be in feminine? Like, when is a good time for them to be in feminine?
Well, I wouldn't say it's not that it's a great time or just to say, hey, being feminine, but as to be a provider, protector, I would say the best thing to do is just to learn how to receive.
Yeah.
Learn how to receive and you listen, you have takers and givers in this world, right? Men or women, either or, right? But a lot of men that I know, they are givers, and you must learn how to receive. And when you learn how to receive, like let's say we go out to eat, for instance, right? And the woman wants to pay one day. And you look like, hold on, time on, no, this is what I'm used to. No, and you know what? Just say thank you, receive it. Now, some people might say, well, that's the feminine part, but no, like if she wants to do that, or if she wants to drive or whatever, like you hear so many different stupid things. She drives, you can't drive. Who the fuck cares? Right? But you hear this stuff.
Totally.
So I just laugh at it and I'm just like, listen, just learn how to receive. Receive, that's the way I see it. That's the way I see it as far as, playing the feminine. Sometimes, it's not about feminine or masculine. Sometimes it's just about, you know what? I understand. No problem.
Awesome.
Right?
Totally.
Just to get over things, but as long as you understand it.
Do you feel like right now, just the culture that we're in, I feel like there's a whole movement. There's two movements I see happening right now with men specifically. There's one where they're like warrior alpha and the pendulum is like swinging like way over here. Then there's the other movement where they're like, oh, let's bring back the 70s movements. Let's bring back the men's circles, and we're going to teach men to cry and be in touch with their emotions. And there's a place for that. But there's a movement of that's on the other spectrum. Are you seeing these as well, these two spectrums, rather than a lot of men finding a little bit more of a centered approach to masculinity?
Yeah, I do. Why? Because I feel I feel like there's no balance. So I see people doing one thing, I see people doing another. And my question to the other is, well, are you going to show them this aspect of things? Right? Because a man is feminine when his daughter, like, listen, this weekend, my daughter graduated. I fucking teared up. I don't tear. I don't cry. Right? That's what I tell the world. Fuck that. If I'm feeling love a lot and my daughter, I'm proud, it happens. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I feel like they're shutting that, right? Yeah. I don't feel like it's all about aggression when you go to certain events. I don't feel like certain things stick with people. And same thing on the flip side now, you go to these other events and they say, we hug you and we show you love and compassion and spiritual side and meditation. I'm not knocking it because I meditate every day too.
Yeah.
But there is definitely a thin line where you got to understand, like, look, that's great, but our core instinct Our animal alpha instinct from the day we was born, thousands and thousands of years ago, we are protectors and we are providers. We are the hunters. You must put that inside that type of training, that type of course, that type of event. I don't think an event should be solely just one thing, right? And I think it should be a mixture of everything. And you'll see it. You'll see the ones that wants to leave the room when this part comes up, or you'll see the ones that feel intimidated when this part comes up. And that's when you see, all right, those are the ones I need to bring over here. Those are the ones I need to, you know what I mean? I need to work with a little more. That's when it really, really kicks in. And because you won't know. You just won't know.
Yeah. I know for me personally, there's been events that I've thought about going to that are all, you know, hoorah, Marine based, get in my face and yell. And I was like, I had plenty of that growing up. I don't think I need any more of that. My inner critic does that to me enough. And so I've always, and even to this day, am looking for those events they're walking that middle ground of both, of really a centered approach. I feel like it's just my own story, but I feel like the world needs more like grounded, centered men who are very comfortable in being that fearless provider, protector, but also they can sit here and hug another man or another woman or their daughter and just completely like give and receive and be in the pocket with just pure connection as well. And
100%.
I feel like the world needs more and more of that. And it's not just men. I think it's just humans in general, who are like grounded and in tune and in source. They know how to do all of it. Because there's a time and place, I think, for women to be that provider, protector. If that's what that moment requires, then they get to figure out how to shift into that and handle what's ever at hand.
Absolutely. I mean, shit, a mother is probably one of the most powerful human beings on this world, on this planet.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
If you are a mother, you know, I always say that one question I ask people, and I get a million different answers. Right? Some people even want to argue, but this is my hallucination, right? My opinion. When does a mother become a mother? Is it at birth? Is it when they first got pregnant? Is it during the pregnancy? And I always say the mother was born at the exact same time that the baby was born.
Yeah.
Right? Because I personally feel, and I'm not a woman, but a lot of women that I have worked with and that I questioned and I asked, and they always say your mother instinct just like it's always on, but it just fucking hits sky high when the baby is born. That's a powerful woman, man. So they definitely got the mask. You know, I wrote about that too in that one poem that I was talking about. I wrote about that. And I talked about how a woman can play the masculine role as much as she wants. Yeah. But at the end of the day, she knows deep down inside she cannot do certain things that a man can do for their child. It's just inevitable. It just can't happen. Right? They can teach them everything. They can teach them sports. They can teach them how to fight. They can teach them all this other stuff. But the one thing they just can't do is that energy. It's that, you know, that syncing, the synchronicity of a man. It's just hard for them. You know, it's just impossible for them to do. It's just like for a father with a daughter. Things I just can't do. Yep. And I experience that now. I just can't, you know, I hate the word can't, but there's just things that I'm not meant to do for a daughter that a mother can.
What have you found are some of those things?
Oh man, one came up recently. One was, and it's a funny story. One was, you know, when the little girls start to get their friend, you know, their monthly friend. And I was just like, fuck, like, what do I do? And here I am. I went to the store. I picked up this little plastic bag, and I made like a goodie bag full of all this stuff to make sure they're okay when they go to school. Like, God forbid something happens, you're going to use this as the wipes, you know, all this stuff. And the mother looked at me like, listen, relax. You know, and my daughter's crying. She's getting emotional. She's like, what is going on? And I'm just like, oh, my God. And my oldest, you know, like, so my oldest one that went through, my youngest didn't go through it. You know, she lives with her mother. And in my mind, I'm like, all right, what can I do? And I'm picking her from school. I'm bringing her home. I'm like, baby girl, how is this? How is that? It's just, and I told her, I said, you know what, baby, there's just some things I just can't do for you. That's something that your mother has to have that conversation with. I don't know what that feels like. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just certain things we can't.
Dude, it's awesome though that you're even having the conversation. How many men would be like, no, I can't talk about that stuff. That makes me too uncomfortable. Yeah. And at least you're willing to be open and vulnerable to have the conversation, at least hold some space and admit the truth of, I don't understand it, but I'll always be here for you, even though it's awkward as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. You know, that's another thing that's key too, right? With men. I mean, I preach this. I always tell them, so there's one part of the thing when I speak about children, when I speak about parenting, And I always tell them, listen, the best way to go into any conversation with a child, male or female, is holding space. Exactly what you just said, right? But holding space in what manner, right? I always tell my daughter this. I say, listen, if you want to speak with me, if there's something that's really bothering you, you want to just talk, I want you to approach me and say, hey, daddy, I want to speak to you as a daddy. Or, hey, daddy, I want to speak to you as a friend. Or I want to speak to you as a stranger. Or I want to try to speak to you as my mother. How would she act if I asked her this question? Or, you know what I mean? So I always tell her, listen, tell me how you want me to respect your space and reply or try to help. And then I will put myself in that manner and I will try to help from that state, not just from the daddy protective state, right? And I think by me doing that, and I learned this the hard way. The reason I do that now is because when I was younger, so I'm 7 and 8 years older than my two younger sisters. And I was, it was a big age difference, but I was such a at the age, I mean, I was in high school, they was just coming out of elementary, right? And, as they got older, I was older, but when I used to go to the house, I didn't live with them much, but when I went to the house, I was an asshole. Not towards them, but towards any one of their friends. If I knew it was a boy or who's this, who's that boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. And, I used to scare people and, you know what I mean? Like playing a big brother role, but they never questioned, they never spoke to me. They never asked me for help. They never did certain things, maybe once or twice, and I always asked myself, why you guys never told me no? And they was like, because every time you would say something, you would get all crazy. And I learned my lesson the hard way on. I was, what, I'm never going to be like that with my kids. And sure enough, God gave me 2 daughters, no sons yet. And he made me understand that you have to open space. You have to open that door longer and wider for a female than a male.
Is that door opening up the space to understand rather than fix? Is that the distinction there?
Yes, because men always want to fix.
Right.
Our natural instinct is always fix. Well, how can I fix it? Well, tell me now. No, I don't want to speak about it right now. No, tell me now. I want to know now. So, listen, just relax, hold their space. When they're ready to conversate, then you can speak about it. But until then, just listen.
Yeah. What have you found are some big mistakes men are making when it comes to really tapping into their potential and leading as men?
Oh man, there's quite a few of them. I would say is you don't have to please for her to love you. You don't have to please for your child to love you, right? You have to understand that you must make decisions. You must be uncomfortable sometimes, even if it's a wrong or right decision. You must stick with that, right? Don't fold and say, oh, you know what, you was right at all times. Look, granted, if that happens, that happens. But there's times where if that's what you feel in your heart and that's the decision on how you feel about certain things, then stick to your guns. I feel like a lot of men these days, they fold too easy and they allow the women. But then what happens is when they allow the women to overturn their word, the woman actually gets turned off. It's right. Weird, but that's what happens. That's the whole polarity thing.
Awesome, man. If you could go back in time and give your younger self some wisdom that would help you collapse time and get results faster, what would you tell them?
To listen more. Definitely to listen more. And don't act so fast. Just listen, pay attention, and then make your move. Don't act so fast.
And as we're bringing this kind of interview to a landing, you have any wisdom, anything of inspiration you would want to say to a man right now?
Yeah. Even as a man, you must know your wants and your needs. When you know your wants and your needs and you fulfill your 3, so there's 3 things that I always say. A man must be, any human, but a man must be fulfilled. You must feel, see, accomplishments, achievements, that's great, but fulfillment, happiness, and riches. Those 3 words. Now, riches is not just money, right? Riches is family. Riches is, things in life, right? How do you feel? Which creates your fulfillment, which creates your happiness. And in order to get those 3 things, you must make the list. Everybody speaks about this. On the left-hand side, your wants. On the right-hand side, your needs. And go down and be extremely selfish with this list. And when you get to your needs part, you can check off some of the wants. But if these are your needs, you must communicate about these needs. Say, hey, listen, hon, I want to have sex 7 days a week, but I need it 3 days a week. Okay, cool. So like, I want to go out 3-4 times a month, but I need to go out 2 times a month, right? I want to, take you out to dinner or whatever it is. But whatever it is that you want and you need in your life, when you follow that and you become aligned with that, everything else is going to fall into place, because that's when your tribe follows you. Don't follow nobody else's tribe.
So good. If you guys want to learn more about Danny, go to DannyTorres.com. That's Danny, Torres.com. If you want to do men's training, he has alpha1instinct.com. And then, dude, you're doing some buying some business stuff too. Tell us a little bit about that and where people can connect with you about that.
Awesome. Yeah. So now is a perfect time to keep it in short. Now is the perfect time in history to buy a business pretty much with zero out of your pocket. And I'm not even speaking of getting investors. I'm literally speaking of zero out of your pocket, because a lot of baby boomers want to retire now. They don't want to go online because they're not used to it. They're not used to this change and what's going on, the way the industry and the way the world is about to be now, especially restaurants and whatnot, but just the whole online world. And you'll be able to make a deal with them. You're doing them a favor. You're doing them a favor, the baby boomers that wants to retire right now. You're doing them a favor by taking the business over and paying them with the cash flow that comes into the business to make a deal with them to pay it 2 to 3 years. And now is the best time to acquire generational wealth fast, very fast.
Awesome. And if they want to connect with you to learn more do that, I know they set up a time to talk with you. Just want them to go to DannyTorres.com or somewhere different.
Yeah. You go right on my website. You could once you go on my website, you could click and schedule an appointment, get on a phone call, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Danny, thanks, brother. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, there you have it, my friend, Danny Torres. What a great dude. He is such a kind soul and is just like doing some great things in the world. I hope this episode has served you. If you're a guy listening to this, I hope this has really like helped called you and challenge you to like lean into your edge as a man and like level up for yourself and for, your family. If you're a woman listening to this episode, I hope it gives you some insight and wisdom in how to best support your partner. If you enjoyed this episode and inspired you in some way, I'd love to hear about it. And I'd just like to know, like, what was your biggest takeaway from this episode? Simply take a screenshot of you listening on your device, post it to your Instagram stories, and tag me on Instagram using @AJAmix. Thank you so much for being here. That's going to do it for this episode of the Anthony John Amix podcast. Until next time, my friend, I'm out. Peace.
Well, that's all I've got for this episode of the Anthony John Amix podcast, but we have plenty more to help you become unstoppable in life and business. So head on over to ajamix.com for exclusive resources, information, and tools to help you break through to a new level of freedom, purpose, and success. I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Bye for now.